Be sure to subscribe for more content.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome to the BigBC Finance Channel, and I hope you're having a very lovely day today. So in today's video, we're going to be talking all about Luna Classic, what has happened to it recently, and where we predict the price to go to in the near future with some key price levels and some trades I'm looking to make. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. And of course, if you appreciate the daily analysis on this channel and you're one of the 86% of people that watch my videos that are not yet subscribed, be sure to hit the subscribe button. So without further ado, let's talk about Luna Classic. Let's get those annotations back on the screen. And if you have been watching Luna Classic over the past day or so, you'll know that we've broken below this orange line here, this orange line going in this upwards direction that I was keen to kind of follow in order to keep our bullish trend going. But unfortunately, this bullish trend that we had was very, very short-lived. Of course, we saw that pump. We remained above this blue line for a little bit, our 100-hour moving average. But unfortunately, at the very same moment, have a look at this, guys. At the very same moment, the price crashed below the 100-hour moving average and our orange trend line here. So both of them at the very same time by the price. We slipped underneath, and of course, from there, the rest is history. We're going in this generally very slow and steady downtrend, and I said that the target for this downtrend will be something along this line here. So I've drawn this resistance here, this zone of support here, that's sitting at around 15.8 cents here on Luna Classic. So unless something drastic happens in the market, then we're probably just going to be following a trend that looks like this all the way down to our target down here at 15.8 cents. Now really, I say this in all my videos, but in today's video, I'm going to be emphasizing this a lot because this is all that matters at the moment. And it's going to be what the cryptocurrency market is doing in general. So for that, we always turn to Bitcoin to see what that's doing, because whatever Bitcoin does will be reflected in altcoins like Luna Classic. Now, of course, this wasn't always the way. And as we can see here, since the 9th of November, things have been getting less and less volatile as time goes on. We've seen from very wild price movements here on Luna Classic to very calm, very orderly, and not too much happening in terms of price. The volume is down, and it isn't just Luna Classic that we're seeing this on. If you look on the top right hand side here, these are all the top cryptocurrencies that I follow, and basically if you look at the change, nothing much has happened over the past few hours. Look at all those percentage points. Literally, Bitcoin is down 0.48, 0.49%, Ethereum minus 1.35, we've got Solana hovering at minus 0.5, Luna 2.0 minus 0.3, XRP minus 0.8. So I guess what I'm trying to say is the markets are very still, very calm, and there's very few buyers or sellers coming into the markets at the moment. Everything is just in a kind of frozen state, we could say. So this tells me people are unsure what's going to happen to cryptocurrency in general in the future after this FTX fallout, regarding, you know, the regulation that's going to come into cryptocurrencies, and just general fears about other exchanges falling as well. So, you know, this is why I believe cryptocurrency is so still and calm at the moment. And of course, to prove this, I've got this correlation coefficient indicator down here, which tells us how correlated the price of Luna Classic is with Bitcoin at the moment. And as you can see right now, things are looking kind of weird here. We just see this chart here, which looks like a massive blue blob, but basically when the graph is nearer 1, it indicates there is a stronger correlation. So the higher the value of this graph, so the higher the peak of this graph here, the more correlated Luna Classic is with Bitcoin. And at the moment, the values over the past few days have been sitting nearer 0.9. And of course, anything above 0.7 indicates a strong correlation with Bitcoin. So literally, we can say that over the past week, basically, since the FTX fallout, we've seen a strong correlation between Luna Classic and Bitcoin. And of course, it wasn't always that way. If I do go back in time, we can see that the correlation was a lot weaker. Of course, we see the graph going into negative territory a lot more, which means that there is an inverse relationship with Bitcoin going on. So the zero line means there's no correlation whatsoever. So this is what we see here in the middle. For a lot of its history, Luna Classic was kind of just weakly correlating, or weakly inversely correlating with Bitcoin. But as of recently, we've seen this strong correlation between Luna Classic and Bitcoin. And of course, like I say, that adds to the evidence that cryptocurrencies are just still at the moment waiting to see what happens with all this FTX drama. So we're going to turn to Bitcoin to kind of predict what is happening with the price of Luna Classic in the future. And really what I'm keeping my eye on still is this triangle that we have here. Bitcoin, again, like Luna Classic, has come down very sharp, but since we come down sharp like this, we've kind of been very still, just ranging like this in a sideways motion, kind of really just bouncing between 16,400 and 17,000 here. So really nothing too exciting going on with Bitcoin. Things are very calm and steady, just like Luna Classic. And from a triangle, we do expect something to happen. So, you know, this is a period of consolidation. Buyers and sellers seem to be in some sort of state of equilibrium. And of course, when we see some sort of consolidation pattern like this, we can expect some sort of breakout. So of course, we have our resistance here, which is this yellow line that kind of connects the peaks of the price over the past week. And we have this support that kind of connects the two bottoms down here on Bitcoin. And of course, if you join those together, we get a triangle formation. And basically what that tells us is that at some point, Bitcoin has to make its mind up as to which way it's going to go. Is it going to respect the support line that we have at the bottom here and just crash through the resistance at some point? And if so, we do get this bullish movement on Bitcoin. We should see some momentum and volume take Bitcoin price into the upwards direction. And of course, if we see that, that's going to be quite easy for Luna Classic to be more bullish here. And I'd expect Luna Classic to be heading in a more bullish direction if Bitcoin does break out of that triangle. Now, of course, the other scenario is that Bitcoin respects its resistance. So we've got this resistance going in this downwards direction. And Bitcoin respects it and breaks below the support here. So we get the price go down like this into the 15,000s here on Bitcoin. And of course, if that were to occur, then we should see similar price action here on Luna Classic. And I do expect the price to easily head down to this level at 15.8 cents. Now, if Luna Classic doesn't hold this level, then my next level here on Luna Classic is the very bottom here at 13.5 cents. That's what I'll be looking for if the price doesn't hold at this 15.8 cents level on Luna Classic. This is what I'm really monitoring. So this is what I'm monitoring. About 80% of my time is monitoring what Bitcoin does, because what Bitcoin does will kind of just determine what the rest of cryptocurrency does as well. We can have a look at Ethereum, for example. It seems to be in a very similar state. You can see that it's kind of bounced off the bottom here and is just consolidating in this region. Binance Coin, again, very similar story. Solana, very similar story. Everything is kind of very still and very calm and consolidating in some sort of triangle. Now, the chart pattern may not be perfect in the sense that we could also see the triangle just disrespected altogether, and we just see the price continue to do this, for example, but then we just adjust the triangle. But then if this were to happen, then we just adjust the resistance here to accommodate for the new price data. So it may end up looking something a little bit more like this, for example. Again, not a perfect encapsulation of this peak here, but the point still stands in that if we get new price data and this fits it better, then we will be looking at this triangle and any subsequent breakout from it as well. So of course, I'm monitoring this in real time. And I post everything that I see on my trading view quicker than I'm able to make videos on them. So be sure to follow me on my trading view. The link is in the description below. And finally here on Luna Classic as well, still relevant to Luna Classic is what the stock market is doing. Because of course, I have talked about the stock market before, because the stock market and Bitcoin have been kind of correlated because of that US dollar currency index. Of course, the stronger the US dollar currency index, the more the stock market seems to plunge, but also the more Bitcoin seems to plunge as well. So there has been some sort of inverse relationship here with Bitcoin and the strength of the dollar. And at the moment, the dollar is weakening, but we're seeing Bitcoin still go sideways. So the previous correlation that the dollar currency index used to have with Bitcoin is temporarily interrupted, but if we see the stock market starting to go up or down, that can influence what Bitcoin is doing, in my opinion. If the stock market starts going in this downwards direction, then I think it's going to be harder for Bitcoin to go in an upwards direction. Of course, it's still entirely possible, but I do believe the stock market going down will put a bearish bias on what Bitcoin does. And of course, if Bitcoin has a bearish bias, then I expect Luna Classic to also have a bearish bias as well. So at the moment, looking at the stock market, it's a little bit tense. This is the S&P. This is just the 500 biggest companies in the USA. And it's basically just a good indicator of as to how the US economy is doing. And if we have a look at this chart here, it really does look like we're starting to see some sort of topping pattern. By no means perfect again, but what I do think we could be seeing is some sort of derived head and shoulders. So something that could be looking like this. So not great if you are bullish on the stock market. This definitely does look like a topping pattern to me. And if that head and shoulders does complete, we should see the price do something like this. And of course, if we do see the price do that on the stock market, then Bitcoin, although it won't dump in the same way, it will add a bearish bias and it will make it harder for Bitcoin to break out of the triangle with a bullish outcome. So the market opens, in roughly 3 hours from making this video. I'm going to be monitoring what's happening there. I do check the pre-markets for the stocks a lot, and at the moment things are slightly red. So of course, the market opens a little bit lower, then that completes the head and shoulders, and we should see price action continue to go downwards with the price target around this level here at 385, just from this head and shoulders pattern. So pretty bearish stuff here on the S&P. Of course, we could potentially be seeing just a small correction, and I'm not ruling that out. I do think we could see some sort of a ways to go on the stock market if we're able to continue a bit more of a bullish direction. We did just bounce off a 200-day moving average, a very important one on the S&P here. So of course the bearish price action on the S&P over the past few days could just be explained by a correction from the bounce from this 200-day moving average, which is very significant. Of course, if we are still bullish here on the stock market, then I'm looking for the price to continue heading upwards like this. But if we head down, then we've completed a head and shoulders, and it looks like we could be heading further. So really something to keep your eyes on. If we are still bullish and we are able to break that 200-day moving average, then our next resistance should be this level at 410-ish on the S&P. And if we can get to 410, it should be easier for Bitcoin to do this. I'm not saying Bitcoin will do it, but it should be easier for Bitcoin to be bullish. And same then for Luna Classic. So honestly, at the moment, Luna Classic is at the mercy of what Bitcoin does, and Bitcoin has a few influences, notably what the stock market is doing and how strong the dollar currency index, as well as all the other news regarding cryptocurrency related stuff like the FTX drama that still needs to be solved. What regulation is going to come up for cryptocurrencies within the next weeks and months? Of course, the XRP has that lawsuit with the SEC about whether it's a security or not, so that is going to have a big outcome, and chances are this event here could sway the opinion of the SEC. It's not a guarantee, but that's a very scary thing to look out for. And on top of it all, I'm just looking for chart patterns here on Luna Classic that could hint to us the nature of the future direction here on Luna Classic. At the moment, we're just seeing some sort of resistance that looks like this. Unfortunately, again, a very bearish one, similar to the yellow one that we saw here as well. I'm going to put it in yellow because it is a bearish trend line. And we are below that 100-hour moving average, so we're in a confirmed bearish trend, unless we can again go in a more sideways direction, looking like this and breaking through that 100-hour moving average to the upside once again. So that's always a possibility, guys. I'm monitoring this trend line on the way down. If we do see a bullish break, or we go in a more sideways direction, can we also cross the 100-hour moving average with increasing volume and momentum? And if so, we could probably head up to our resistance here again, and this resistance is this zone here at around 18.7 to 19 cents on Luna Classic. So those are my thoughts here at the moment. As a summary, we've broken below this bullish trend into a more bearish trend, but I'm monitoring this trend line going down. I'm monitoring this 100-hour moving average in blue. I'm monitoring what Bitcoin is doing in relationship to this triangle here. We've got this bearish triangle. We've got this triangle. We've got Bitcoin kind of in a consolidation where the volume is declining and volatility on the price is declining, and it should lead to a large breakout to the upside or a downside. And of course, in either direction should put a bias as to what Luna Classic does. And similarly with the stock market as well, it looks like we're seeing some sort of topping pattern on the S&P, some sort of head and shoulders. And if that is true, then stock market is going to head down. And if that does happen when the market's open in about 3 hours, we should see Bitcoin also see a bearish bias. And a bearish bias on Bitcoin will mean a bearish bias here on Luna Classic as well, in my opinion anyway. So that is all I have to say, really. Thank you so much for watching my videos. Do let me know in the comments whether you're bullish or bearish on Luna Classic. And of course, do follow me on my trading view if you want to keep up to date with everything that I'm seeing on the charts in real time. But otherwise, thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.